Okay, so this is for AS Economics, and it's to help you with the 25-mark response, which I know that is often a concern. So you're looking here at the AQA Economics webpage, and it's quite tricky to find this material I'm going to show you. So you want to come right down here to Teacher Resource Bank, click on that, and then you have to scroll down again, and we've got candidate exemplar work. Okay, and then we're going to be using Econ 2. Unfortunately, this hasn't got an Econ 1, but the skills I give here are as true for the Econ 1 paper. So we're going to this one. Okay, now we've got some scripts here that we can be looking at. So this is students who have had a go at an imaginary exam question. We've got different types of questions here. So we're going to be looking at this first one here. Okay, so just check this is going to be the right one. You can have a scroll down, you can see lots of different types of responses here. Okay, and this is the one we're going to use, this first one here. Right, so some key tips in terms of answering the data question at AS level, and it's very similar to the same approach at A2 as well. We're looking here at the 25-mark question. Let's just look at it carefully and make sure we're answering this question, which is what we call the context. So we've got extract C, line 8. It's definitely going to be worth our while having a proper read of that extract C. There might be some more information around that line. It says, we may not need to be too concerned about a rising rate of UK inflation and a stronger pound. Well, today we've got still high inflation and we've got a weaker pound. So right from the start, this might throw you in an exam. But these exam questions were written a while ago, at least a year ago. And certainly it's been the case that we've had a weaker pound for a number of years now. But you might be prepared to think, well, I could get into questioning the data from the start. Now, what is the actual question asking you to do? So it says using the data, this is all this information. This is the A, B and C that's been preparing you for this answer. And your own economic knowledge, so we'll give it a K if you've got the data being used, application AP, K. Evaluate, so we're going to debate the significance of the UK macro performance. Right, so right at the start, we're going to pick up some marks and make sure to the reader we're clear what we're saying, just helping this reader along. Remember, you're writing not necessarily for an examiner or for your teacher, you're writing to help explain economics to someone else that's new to learning the subject. So you're saying, right, what's happening to the UK as a result of rising rate of inflation? So let's define what we mean by inflation. So in our introduction, we've seen a rise in the rate of inflation. This means, and we've also seen a stronger pound, which also means what? What does a stronger pound mean? Defining it as the external exchange rate of the pound against other currencies. So presumably this will mean the export prices will go up, price of exports will go up, and it will mean import prices are lower, cheaper, spiced, strong pound, imports cheaper, exports dearer. And we're going to be considering what is going to be the impact on macro performance, on maybe unemployment, on inflation itself, on economic growth, and on our balance of payments, or more specifically, the balance of trade in goods and services. That is our introduction. Now, let's think about it. How are you going to answer this question? So what information have we got here? We've defined rate of inflation, so great, we've come back to that. What about this data here? Two main points of comparison. Okay, so we're seeing that with rising inflation, the Bank of England might respond by increasing interest rates. Let's be specific on the use of the data. So I suppose higher interest rates, that could explain maybe why the pound goes up, so there could be an interrelationship. Higher interest rates might mean less investment, less consumption, aggregate demand changing possibly. What's the impact on growth? What's the impact on inflation? It seems to suggest from this data the inflation does start to dip back down. However, let's use the data, let's be critical in the use of the data. This increase is not much. I mean, what is that? That's about a 1% increase, so not that much to say there. If we look at extract B, I know it says look at C, but we want to make use of as much data as we can, think how it can help us answer the question. So summer 2007, share prices, significant fall, poor weather, so we got some sort of demand side, supply side shocks. So you're thinking about how inflation in the pound might affect, say, growth or trade balances or unemployment. This seems to be suggesting there's lots of other things out there that could be happening. Yeah, we've got that bit about interest rates going up again there, haven't we? Interest rates control inflation. They're helping you out here with this. Oh, credit and mortgages become more expensive. So we don't want to drift too far away, but there's possibility of saying higher inflation, what that might mean in terms of the impact of inflation, but also might mean a response in terms of interest rates. And then finally down here, this is the extract C they want you to look at. Line 8, wasn't it? Yeah. So GDP, exchange rate of the pound, all right, there it goes. It tells you is going to influence economic growth, right? They're telling you why the pound's gone up. Maybe with lower inflation, interest rates will come down and the pound might go down. So this is getting lots of really deep critical thinking. It tells you here what this might mean. Good news for British tourists, but that might mean bad news at home. Yes, so it might mean a growing balance of trade deficit. Right, so there's loads of information in this data if you can use it effectively. It damages UK competitiveness. However, what else has been happening in the UK economy to maybe improve our competitiveness, right? Right, so let's see how this student got along. Okay. So, right, okay, so they've tried to, it looks like, rising rate of inflation. No, this is just a plan, isn't it? It would be nice if they may put a clear line through that. That's not a clear start. Okay, they repeated the start. Rate of inflation is how much prices per annum. Is that really the definition of inflation? And a stronger pound means that more can be bought of imports. Again, is that really the case? Is that being clear? Do you understand what they're saying there? A rising rate of inflation will have a detrimental effect on economic growth. Okay, but why? Would be nice to have known. Okay, this is because in times of high inflation, investment is less profitable. Right, are you telling us why it's less profitable? Therefore unlikely to invest. Well, I suppose we should really add in here that a high inflation might mean you're very unsure about your cost of production, what wages will go up, about what prices you're going to get, what you're going to get in terms of real profit. So that might put you off investing. Yeah, Britain may be expensive to export from. That's really what you want to be saying. Yeah, getting into more depth and also saying, you know, this might be the case. This might not be. Okay, so we've got a bit about unemployment. So they've got some understanding there, but again, it would be nice to have linked that fall in investment, aggregate demand. You know, maybe that means that the growth in employment slows down. Will it cause more unemployment? Only maybe if firms are relocating from Britain, or maybe some other reason. Now they've brought in the stronger pound. It might be tempting to instead brought that in as a separate paragraph. And again, we're making assertions here. When this is combined with a stronger pound, growth will be hindered. Well, why? Will it? As you indicate, industries will suffer because they are producing a more expensive. Remember, inflation is an average concept, yeah? Not all companies are going to be exporting abroad, right? So this is what we call in critical analysis, and I'm sorry to say the student is just not delivering on that. Okay, competitiveness will be hit greatly as UK industries lose out to imports which become cheaper. This is better, relatively cheaper. Again, maybe it will depend upon the change in exchange rate. It will depend upon the stuff we had earlier on about UK firms becoming perhaps more productively efficient, cutting costs, business taxes. It could lead to a balance of payments deficit, isn't it? Isn't it the balance of trade in goods deficit? Will it depend upon price elasticity of demand for exports or imports? As the amount of imports vastly exceeds the amount of imports. So, well, that already is the case. So we want to say, the trade deficit growing, I presume, yeah? And also think about the pound was strong for a long, long period of time. And British companies did find ways to make productivity gains, to maybe switch to the domestic market. Yeah, so think about how markets can cope, or maybe how governments might be able to respond here. Okay. In addition, a rising rate of inflation could lead to massive redistribution of income. Now this has got something in it, because what they've tried to do here is talk about the costs and benefits of inflation. Higher inflation, shoe leather costs, menu costs, and yes, redistribution of income. Have they explained why? It hits those on fixed incomes. Yeah, because presumably their income's not rising in line with inflation. It'd be nice if they just clarified that, perhaps. Remember, you're writing for another student. You just got to clarify it. Furthermore, if taxes and government spending are not altered, yeah, okay, there's something called fiscal drag, which you may not have come across. We're raising lots of points here. I'm not saying that you bring all these points in. I'm just saying it's better to say less in more depth. Yeah, getting that green bit, the point, and then getting the depth of analysis of fully explaining, and then getting into the the use of the case study and the critical analysis. This student is good actually. They've used the data here. Extract A, but have they used it effectively? Consumers will be more likely to purchase imports which are cheaper, because a high rate of inflation is eroding the value of their money as it continues to be above the Bank of England base rate. I'm not too clear on what they're saying there, are you? So let's just go back. What are they saying here? We've got redistribution of income, fixed incomes. No, I don't think there's clarity there, right? So don't just throw the data in. You've got to use the data. Have they used the data anywhere before here? There's extract C. Yeah, it says it's more expensive. Okay, that's fine, that's good. But maybe it's just a repeat of the question. It really would have been nice if they use a bit more of the data rather than just repeating what's in the question. There's a chance you will get no credit for that if you just basically repeat the question. Okay, the last bit. So if you've done that really well, if you had analysed in depth and you had done your critical analysis, what we call evaluation, it's more it depends on changing the assumptions in the theory. It depends on the data rather than just simply however. There's our level 4, right? So we're maybe sitting on, say, 18 out of 25, 19 out of 25, hopefully higher. To get the full marks, it's really tough. What you want to do in this conclusion is make a substantial conclusion, which they haven't, and to try to bring something new in. And there's plenty in that data that you could have brought something new in. So their conclusion is a rising rate of inflation and a stronger pound will have a negative effect on the UK's macro performance. This is because it will reduce economic growth and investment. It's no marks. They've just repeated what was in the data, really. There might be some credit there, I suppose. But yeah, it's not bringing in anything new to win the arguments. If I was looking at this, I would be very tempted to say, will this inflation and exchange rate be long-lasting? Will, what else do we have? Will interest rates significantly alter? What about this supply side changing here? Remember, supply side really is something you want to get your teeth into often as an answer in macroeconomics, because it's looking at the more long-term change. Okay, so let's just see what the examiners made of this. It wasn't a disaster. They do say it attempts to deal with some of the questions, so there's some understanding there. Yeah, it does say here they never really explain macro performance about that redistribution of income, and also it would have been an issue about shoe leather costs or menu costs. We'd be saying this leads to inefficiency, this might damage growth, redistribution of income might maybe put people off going into work, affecting unemployment. So that's really useful. This is why these examiners' comments are really good. The analysis and evaluation does not always rise above the superficial. Yeah, that's what we were saying. It lacked depth. and there's some attempt to get an evaluative judgment. I think they've been a bit generous there. Fairly logical and coherent. Yeah, it does try to pack in a bit too much. It was a little bit unclear in places. I might be more tempted to give this a 13 out of 25 myself. Okay, so I hope that helped. Do look at the other ones in your own time, and that's it.